Hey gang.
Hey everyone in America and elsewhere.
There are people elsewhere too.
There are people
There's
elsewhere.
There's a whole world outside of America.
There's a whole world.
Yeah.
So Felipe, tell us when we're live. We're doing our pre-live amp, which we think means that we're not live, but we may very well be live. So, how are you doing this morning?
I'm well.
This morning.
Yeah, didn't get a lot of sleep last night. Class went late, and then my daughter gets up early. You know, it's kind of
How was class?
Class was amazing. Felipe was there. He knows. Yeah, we all moved. It's all fun. Yeah.
Cool. Great. I love that class. Okay, we're live. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Happy Thursday.
Hey, who are you?
Who am I?
We should
Hi.
identify ourselves.
I'm Risa Brayman Garcia.
Steve Braun. Yeah,
We're here at the BGB studio in North Hollywood, California.
Thanks for joining us.
And we're live here. We felt compelled to talk to you about your audition experience and point of view because we have to stop the audition madness.
So it manifests itself in a couple ways. You know this because you've been in these rooms,
in the
like
madness.
That one over there, in the madness, and you've seen really talented actors walk in fairly consistently and completely remove themselves from each present moment because of the spinning of their heads, the hurricane of the industry, expectations, the validation or invalidation of their life choices, the rent, the health insurance, everything on the line, and they blow it. And it's interesting, I just had a coaching this morning, and so many of the, particularly during pilot season, we're not in there now, but like the first 20, 30 minutes is not actually the work, it's creeping up to the work. Because we got to deal with because we got to deal with everyone's stuff. And there's nothing short of suffering. And you know, I don't mean like, you know, suffering in a war-torn area. But there is intense anxiety and ulceration and all of it,
which is not only understove, really. I mean, let's just start with that.
Absolutely, yeah. This is not finger wagging by any means. This we get it, and we know that. Yeah. You've moved across the world or the country to do this, and all of a sudden there's an expectation during this 5-minute singularity that you need to be brilliant, and if you're not, it's an invalidation of that choice and all the things you've sacrificed. So
and your career will come crumbling down. Your agent will drop you. You'll never book another job. You're not talented,
or you won't pay your rent. Like all of that. There's a lot on the line, and it's serious, and we get that. So what we want to do, in as much as we've been around it for a while, these are dear friends of ours, people at the studio or who we've known, family members who are affected by all of this, and we want to offer help.
An end to the suffering.
Because we care about people, but also because this industry needs you to show up desperately.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be that crazy, that hard, right? Or that important.
But here's what happens in all this suffering. Your head kicks up and starts saying, we got to deal with this because this is an emotionally violent industry and we have to make sure that we're okay. So it starts spinning and wanting to read the blogs about the 5 tips to audition success and all this and try to find some audition technique, quote unquote, that you can satisfy. You know, if I go through these 10 steps, then I will audition. But that's not what it is.
Well, it can't be, and we have to admit that we've written some of those blogs because what we're really trying to do is reframe the whole process for you, from how you approach it and what you do when you get there. So
we draw you in with the titles, 5 things, and then one of those 5 things is work consistently for 15 years. You know what I mean? Like so here's some real talk. Here, let's offer 2, maybe 3 things that we know ends the audition madness. 1 is practice. 2 is making this less important. Let's talk about each of those. First, practice. You have to have a license to operate in that room for yourself. You have to know when you're walking in that you deserve to be there. How do you do that? Well, they say if you want more self-esteem, perform esteemable acts. You have to walk in like an actor. And that is, here's the good news, a practice. But most people think that it's okay to express themselves once or twice a week and call themselves an actor.
It just audition to audition and most.
In as much as, you know, Los Angeles, New York, other centers are the Olympics of acting, you have to be training like a beast. And that doesn't mean torturous. That means you have to be in and of the work. Doing your own thing, writing your own web series, shooting your stuff all the time, auditioning, taping, nonstop.
And that all constitutes training, so let's just get clear. It doesn't mean that you have to go back to, you know, a conservatory. It doesn't mean that you have to decide that if you're that you're limited in any way. It actually is opening up the door to a huge number of possibilities for you.
And so there's an initial step in that, which is So it's 11:10 or whatever it is. What can I do today that allows me to be in the work? And you need to set up that schedule for yourself. You need to give it priority, and it needs to take priority over perhaps some of the other elements, the other practices that your mind starts spinning and taking you towards. Because, like trying to get ahead in the industry, whatever, you have to have value as an actor so that when the industry calls, you can show up fully and feel like you deserve to be there. You have to answer the question, am I an actor? With a full-throated yes, absolutely. You have to be in the practice.
Yeah, and you have to be doing all of that so that not only is the audition not as important, but that you are showing up as a collaborator, as an artist, as somebody who deserves to be there, as somebody who has has value to add to the storytelling. They can't do this without you. We can't do this without you. So it's for you to know that and own that. But it's like we keep seeing this. Some of the people who are at the studio now who are creating their own work in different ways are such richer, fuller artists because of it, and they can walk into an audition room with power and knowing and confidence and ease, and it shows, it translates, versus even some of those people how they were a year ago when they were feeling alone and desperate and not valued and not enough of. It's a huge difference.
Right. And I think we're dealing with elements of entitlement here that come in sometimes.
Okay.
And I don't mean that in the finger wagging way. I mean some of it is just it's the pendulum swing of, oh, I should have success. But I'm not getting success, I'm a loser. So if you think, okay, I've done the 2-year program, so now I'm good, and I am able to sit at the table with the best of the industry, that may not be the case for you. Everyone's different, certainly. If that's enough for you to fill you up, then great. Most people have to be doing this consistently in the practice of it, doing theater, doing the student films, doing anything, taking any opportunity to act, in order to then show up to the audition and believe in your own heart, know rather that you are an actor.
And it's filling up. It's what you need to do to fill up. I know for myself that I always have to create a circumstance, an environment, a practice for myself that fills me up creatively. If I'm not doing that, I'm not happy.
Right.
Ask my husband, he'll tell you. Send her off to the gym, find that somehow. And the gym for me is a creative space where I can feel like I'm an artist, and
which is why we created the studio.
Which is here, right now,
so that we could be filled up and be in and around people who were doing bold work, and to
provide, as you say, and protect spaces for actors to come and feel safe and stimulated to do that kind of work.
I just said this before, but we walked out of. I just cut you off. Forgive me.
Please,
I'm excited about. I get excited about
this. We get fired up about this.
Walked out of class last night, and we went late because we do sometimes. Then my daughter gets up early. She's 3, and so I'm exhausted. But it's such a beautiful feeling of being full creatively because I'm in and around other artists, other people who are discovering, expressing their voice in unique ways. It's beautiful.
And so necessary. And if you can approach the work that you're doing in an audition room, in the casting process, as you prepare, as you get that email and there's an, oh my God, what do I do with this now? And it becomes all important. If you've got so much else going on, you're going to look at that email differently. You're going to look at the piece of material differently. You're going to prepare differently, and you're going to walk into the room differently. And we do a lot of classes here that we call audition practice and audition workout and audition experience, the audition lab, and all of those things. But all of this is just about getting yourself back to the work, to the practice of doing the work you love, so that room is not a scary place. It is a place you deserve to be in, and it's your place. It's not their place. And that's something that it's hard to understand unless you're in that space, that space of deserving and are carrying with you the fullness of your artistic fulfillment.
And it was interesting you said that the joy in it, because the joy is in the practice. And again, here's the good news. Because it's a practice, you can actually do it. And moreover, it's your responsibility. But it's not something that is fixed. Either you have that thing and you're good at auditions, or you're not. You can lose yourself in the practice of the work, find joy in losing yourself in the practice of that work, and then when the industry calls and asks you to run a marathon, on Thursday, you're ready. You're ready to go and can't wait to get to that starting gate.
And in doing it, if you don't get the job, and by the way, here's a little piece of information: 99% of the people who go walk into that room are not going to get the job. It isn't about that. You know, people say things like "book the room, not the job," and what that really means is make this experience that you're having a full part of your life, and takes the focus off of it, so that you know that when I get out of here, I have something important to do that fills me up, that keeps me in the group. Because you're an actor, not because, and maybe you think it is, but I really, we've talked about this a lot, believe that you're not an actor because you want to get that co-star in NCIS. That's not the real reason why you became an actor. The real reason that you're going to feel fulfilled and compelled to act and express your artistry. That's a cherry maybe on the cake, but you got to bake the cake. So. Right. Just remember why you got into this in the first place. We've talked a lot in the last few months about what is your why, but keep coming back to that so you understand what it is that fills you, that makes you an artist, and then be in the practice of finding that and creating that for yourself. Bring that kind of energy, that kind of joy, that kind of talent into the room. Right. And it changes everything, I promise you. We're sitting in there so hungry for people to take artistic command in that room.
So practice. The next is making the audition less important. Wait, what? That's counterintuitive. It needs to be the most important thing or I'm not going to do well. What we mean, get smart about it. So if you're walking in and this audition is not only about an artistic expression, but it's about the way you will pay rent or get health insurance or not, or the way you will have your ego validated or not, that's a problem. That's putting more weight on the audition, on the industry, even than it is able or willing to handle. So when we say make the audition less important, we mean take care of other things that it is your responsibility to take care of. So you don't put that on the industry. So that you show up as an equal, not from some place of desperation. Does that mean you may need to get a job? Yes, it may. In the interest of creating space for your work. Because, and believe us, and some people will think, no, I like being hungry, I want the audition to be, there are so many reasons why the industry is going to beat you down. You don't need, the fear of paying your rent or not to add to that as well. You need to have space, and again, it's different for everyone else. Everyone's amount of space that everyone needs is different, but you need to know that you're walking into that audition being able to focus on the work.
So find your value outside of that, and in the rest of your artistry. You know, we were talking to an actor the other day who was trying to find his way into other arenas, and as he talked about himself and what we saw what he was capable of and know what he's capable of, and he's really, really talented, and he's an actor and other things, all creative, all part of his artistic creative journey, we realized that all he really had to do, and we don't say all lightly, is create his own industry, create value for himself, be able to claim his space in this industry, and to be able to identify what it is that he's great at and build a business out of that, and do that alongside his acting. So when you walk into that room again, you're filled with all the other parts of your life. So I whenever I see an actress, I usually see it with women more just because they're the ones carrying the babies when people become mothers or fathers, but I see it with women a lot. Their focus goes off of, and I was seeing it with Hayes. Hi Hayes, if you're watching, who's in one of our classes, becoming a father. When your focus is removed from your self-centeredness and from your the ego of everything being hyper-focused on your own success, or however you define it, your own career, because you got to change diapers, you got to stay awake, you got to look at another human being who has an emotional need, and you got to focus on your family. These people become better actors instantly. Like, it's crazy to see that, because they just drop into themselves, and it's about the love and their deep emotional life and all the details of their history and their being, rather than will people love me? Do I look good enough? I mean, how can you look good? You can barely stay awake. Right. And so it's a fantastic process to see that. So your life outside of this, you are a human being, and your instrument is your whole humanness. And so being able to bring that into a room with ease and less pressure is really magical.
Right. And some of this is about getting clear on your purpose and why you're doing this. And if you're looking for validation, if you're looking for fame and fortune, it's gonna come up short pretty consistently. And if you walk into the room with that added expectation of not only do I need to have an artistic experience here, which you may or may not get, by the way, because the reader may be on her phone or whatever else, you have other thoughts and all that, but also please satisfy my bank account and take care of my health insurance.
And love me.
And love me. That's way more than you can expect of anyone, frankly. You have to take responsibility of yourself and your own needs so that you can show up with the tank full and do the work that's required of you to book work.
So, I just want to say at the end of the day, I mean, this whole audition process is ridiculous. Like, let's just call it what it is. You're talented people, you deserve to work, but it's become more and more a thing of, there's more volume, there's a much higher speed at which all of this moves. There's technology interfering, helping, but also hindering the process, the creative process. So let's just call it what it is. It's a nonsensical process. And so if you could just step back and look at it for what it is, the only thing that matters is for you to bring yourself fully and boldly and with ease and power and a strong point of view into a room to collaborate for those few minutes and then see what happens. And then take all the pressure off of that and move on with your life, your career, which includes your creative expression, and you're filled up when you walk in, you're filled up when you leave. This is a moment in time where you get to do some cool work or not, but all of this is silliness. Right. It is insanity if you hyper focus on it, whether you're doing it or whether you're not doing it, where you feel like you're less than because you don't get in the room often enough, or you feel like you're less than because you get in the room and you freeze or whatever comes upon you. Just remember what it is, and your value is in your ability to come into that room with artistic leadership and to share of yourself in your experience. That's all anybody wants, to see you, to experience you, and then the rest is, are they buying apples or oranges that day? Right. That it doesn't matter.
We have a free gift to give you, which we'll talk about in a second, but that reminds me of something that when I was pursuing an acting career that agents and managers would say a lot, which is, so here's the material, you're going to this place and it's blah, blah, it's a really great role, I hope you blah, 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 and just go have fun. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Do you know what this means to me? You know how I'm ripping out my heart and putting it out there when there are people with daggers who are going to just have a great time. Just go in there and have some fun. Yeah. And it's such an important thing to be able to hear that.
Right. And what they really mean.
What they really mean.
Yeah.
And so, and again, this comes back to our conversation about the 5 things that lead to audition success. So here are 2 things that allow you to go in and have fun in the audition. 2 things. Practice, make it less important. But it's more than reading some blog somewhere. This takes time, and it is a practice, and you're going to have to disrupt behavior that you're engaging in pretty consistently that's prevented your success thus far. You're going to have to look at your why.
Yes.
You're going to have to change some things about the way you see the world, and that's going to bump up against some resistance. So now we're talking about elements of the 10-day challenge that we've done. These are things that you're going to have to reprogram some things. But I mean, I think that's part of the exciting thing of being an actor, is that you're going to have to be flexible, malleable. You're going to have to make some changes in your life pretty consistently, because growth is on the other side of that.
Yeah.
And in order to do things that you've never done, you're going to have to lift weights that are heavier than you've ever lifted. So my coffee's kicking in, and I feel terrific.
So you guys,
what's the free gift?
We do have a free gift for you, and the reason why we have it for you is because we want you to hear from other people who are at the top of their field, at the top of their game in this industry, to remember that these people are in this with you: casting directors, producers, directors, showrunners, show creators, even financiers. They are all in this with you. They are all in the struggle. They are all dealing with the same stuff, and they need your help. So there's a particular casting director who used to work with me, who is now at the very, very top of this industry, and we sat down and had an interview with her, a podcast audio interview with her, and we want you to hear it. So we're going to put this up right now. Felipe, if you would put in our free gift inside, BGB's gift, then all you need to do is go to that link, and it'll bring you to a page, and you'll put in your email, and you will get this interview that you should sit down and really listen to and consider and hear what this amazing person has to say.
Yeah.
So do that, and we'd love to just for a few minutes before we go back into the studio to the work we love so much, is to see if you guys have any questions that pertain to this topic that we'd love to hear and answer if we can.
Also, Felipe, mother effer with a hat, the Hollywood Fringe, appearing on that show, is very, very talented.
Felipe's an actor who's off screen here. We're not talking to an imaginary friend, and he sometimes is an imaginary friend who's an actor at the studio and doing the play, and kind of few performances left. So again, come to the BGB page on Facebook or Twitter, and you'll see some more about that. And what we love about the Fringe Festival and what's going on right now in the sort of the ether of our world is that so many of our BGB actors who are in class with us, have been in class with us, are creating work, doing theater, even in Los Angeles. Yes, we don't have the Tony Awards, but we are a theater town. And creating films and shorts, and we have this wonderful reading series here at the studio called the August Wilson Reading Series that is produced and generated by a couple of our BGB actors, Janelle and Millie. Again, more on that. We're thrilled to host it and open up our doors to creating work here, as well as classes. And we have classes starting soon. So, Felipe, any questions from our...
There's an email question. So why is it that sometimes I feel like in class or in a performance or on set I feel so free, but when I'm in the audition room I just don't feel that way?
Yeah. Why do you freeze in the audition room but feel free in all the other work you do? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good question.
Because you've got the job. And you know, I think some of this is checking your ego, and the ego will attach itself to thoughts and create narratives that it thinks are your identity, and so it identifies you as someone who is bad at auditions, for instance, or feeling the pressure of the expectation. It pulls you out of awareness, out of presence, out of your talent, and so you're not there. So again, apropos our conversation about practice and making it less important, engaging in a practice of doing the work, which essentially is a practice of presence in the work, being here, enjoying it right here, right now, aside from the expectations, puts you in a place, just like any other training consistently, where you're in the waiting room, and even though the wind is blowing and there's a lot on the line and you're testing or whatever, and you've just signed the contract for $60,000 plus more if it gets picked up, and you're thinking, you're already spending the money in your head, and you're not here, you're over there somewhere.
But you're going in for the test, the big
right,
test.
The big test.
Yeah.
Or any other audition,
yeah.
Then you can be present. But presence is a practice.
Yeah, it also has to do with, and this is part of that, the practice also of giving up all that, focusing on the wrong things, which are, will I get the job? How will they love me? All of that. When you have the job, you have to and want to and are in the practice of focusing on the work itself. It's like, what do I do in the scene? What do I want from my scene partner? Who am I in the story? What comes next in this? How can we explore this, investigate this, improvise this, serve the material, all that stuff. And so that's what your focus is, because you've already got the job, and because that's what's required of you. And somehow you've decided that in the room, when you're doing audition stuff, that's not important. That what's important is to do what the breakdown said, or to do what we think that they want, or the writer wrote this thing that a tear falls gently from her cheek, and I think, what would Viola Davis would do at that moment? Well, she'd probably have one of her big, fabulous, crying snot-nosed moments, or she wouldn't cry at all, or whatever happened would happen. But then you give up your power, you give up your instincts, and your focus is on doing it right, doing what you think they want, doing it the way you learned it, doing it, getting the words right, and you forget about what the real work is. And whenever I watch dailies of anything I've worked on, I'm always so beautifully stunned by actors who are there for that reason, and remember that people who usually get the job, who audition, whether they self-tape or come in the room, whether they're experienced or not, are doing the work with those same values instilled in the process, and that changes everything. So it really is a mind shift, and it takes time, because it's going to take you a while to get out of that groove where you've learned that audition is about servicing somebody else rather
Sure.
than the work itself. Does that make sense?
And you've learned, like any abusive relationship, that the potential exists that it's emotionally violent,
right,
and that the people in that room are not going to be supportive, and that they're indifferent, and that they're the source of all the struggle in your life, and they're the reasons why you haven't been successful, all that sort of stuff, which again you can attach that to you can make that solid, like that's the way that is. And with a quick shift,
how you learned it.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
So you have to, those are all conditioned thoughts.
Yeah.
And so you have to rework that conditioning.
And again, as Steve said earlier, that takes time, man. That takes time, practice, and some real work. Yeah. But the good news is, there's the other side of it is right there, and you know what that is, because you know what that feels like when you're in the work elsewise. So that's our thoughts on that. Anything else?
There's one last question.
Yeah.
What this person says, it's frustrating to have a terrible reader.
Yeah.
What's something that I can actually do to have a better experience with a bad reader?
We have a podcast about that. Why don't we? That says more than we could in this short period of time.
Yeah.
Unless you want to address it quickly.
Well, we'll put that up for you a little bit later if you want, and you can also find that if you come to our blog page and go to our podcasts, and it's called "Why a Bad Reader is a Gift," and Steve narrates it, narrates it, and it's great to listen to, because you guys have to stop blaming the reader and the guard gate guy, and the traffic on the 101, and all the things that get in your way. It's easy to do that. And you know what? I will say, I don't get the bad reader thing, because here, when we bring actors in to be readers, because we want to provide the most productive and easiest environment for you, but I will tell you that 7 out of 10 actors who come in with a great reader to my room do the same things that they would do if some assistant was on the phone and running camera and reading something she'd never read before. They disconnect. They forget that they're having a human experience. They forget the intimacy and the specificity and the connectivity of that work, and they disappear into the corner. And so, as a tribe, you guys need to take that out of the equation. So listen to this audio, and the answer will be there, we think.
Yeah. Do we want to throw up that gift again? Did we put it up there already?
Yeah. So come.
Let's do that. Thank you, Felipe.
To the site and receive our audio podcast gift.
It's free.
It's free, and it's great, and it's with this fabulous casting person who we adore. And while you're there, check out our classes, because we are seeing really massive shifts in our actors in class, and using that as a grounding point in their practice in our 8-week classes and our ongoing classes. And it's not so much that we need you to be here, but that we really are so excited about watching and experiencing the extraordinary work people are doing when they let go of all of the things we're talking about.
Yeah, those shifts get us both really excited, and then when the flower of that shift is, and I just made my own feature, or I'm shooting this thing, or I wrote this thing, or I put up a play, and beyond that leads to success in the industry as well.
Yeah.
It's really exciting. And what we do here, part of this practice, is the practice of presence, is disrupting some of those old patterns and replacing them with patterns that do nothing but frame up your talent, no matter the situation, whether the wind is howling or whether it's perfect laboratory conditions, because there's a focus on the work and finding the joy in the exploration of it. And sometimes it's messy, and sometimes it's beautiful, but ultimately the life raft you have in the audition room is the work, is your talent, and we practice that here consistently, which is exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting, and it's cool. So come join us online, come join us at our site, on social media. We're here for you. We care deeply about your creative happiness and growth, and we need you to care as much yourself. So,
thanks for joining us.
Thanks
everyone.
for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks.
See you later. Finish. Press finish.
Okay.